Hello and welcome to the 1916 Company. This is Watches Tonight. My name is Tim. Welcome to all online. As usual, Edward from Sweden is the first in the box. Thank you for joining us tonight. We're going to talk about the basic, most elemental watch collection possible. We're going to talk about 3 watches. Why not 4? Why not 2? I'm going to be very clear about that. We're also going to look at what you can get by applying different themes to the 3 watch collection. We've got Avant joining from Hamburg, Matteo, Mark S. from Brooklyn, Jim Millett from the UK, Captain Z, Enrique Cassiano, Arto Charles from New York City. We've got Adam Hansen and Robert Wood from Austin, Texas, which I hear is a great place to be. We've got the Ghost of Yiddish Gambino in the box, Vincent S. You're going to help me hit 300 concurrent viewers tonight, along with Kurt Angle. What's up, Kurt? Good to see you, my man. So we are talking 3 watch collections, chatting live, and I'm sharing your wrist shots right here tonight on Watches Tonight. While we're warming up, do me a favor, follow my Instagram at Tim_Mosso on Instagram. Just a few of the posts that I've thrown up in the last couple of days. You've got a Kerry Voudelainen finished case back to that Schwarzetian Roma Synergy, and then you've got next to it the Grubel Forsey 24-second tourbillon, which, by the way, is a video, so you can see it and what it's all about, but only on Tim_Mosso on Instagram. We got Lars, we got Claudio T, the man who knows everything there is to know about Moser. If you have Moser questions, reach out to Claudio Turjanian. We've got Eric R from Southern Utah, Slowboy Fuel Pump from Knoxville, Tennessee, Eric Nielsen from a rainy Asheville, Carolina. Sorry, there we got Nashville, Asheville, and Knoxville all tonight. Damon S., Darius B., welcome, and Watch Bronco, thank you for staying up super late in Bahrain. All right, viewer wrist shots number 1. Jeff S. leads off with his H. Moser & C. Streamliner Tourbillon Skeleton Alpine Limited Edition. It is Formula 1 inspired. Dig that blue sapphire. We got Sharath and his Patek Philippe 5059 in Tokyo for his first ride on the Shinkansen, a very fast train. Philip D. visited me, Armin Johnston, and Phil Toledano last Thursday at the 1916 Company in Manhattan. You can see us gearing up for our live chat that will become a podcast, by the way, and Philip's Ulysse Nardin Tiger Automaton striking watch in the foreground. Phil is actually back with his 911 Carrera S right here, and his AP code 1159 chronograph in Park City, Utah. We love our watches and wheels, but note the license plate. That is commitment. We have Justin F., who makes it a pair, watches and wheels, with his Rolex Explorer 2 Polar and Porsche 911. His is a 2005. Neil B. rolls with his Bentley and the rarely seen full rose gold, full bracelet, Omega Seamaster Aquaterra World Timer. Send your wrist shots to Monday Mailbag at the1916company.com to see your watch on this box. Jeff S. is in our box too. He's on your screen. Now he's chatting live. Tic Tac is on our chat box. Dr. Stu, Dan Thompson from Jacksonville, Florida. We got Time Hill, and we've got B and S alongside Kevin from Buffalo. Welcome to one and all. So my 3 watch collection, we're going to have a couple of iterations of this, but here's the premise. I wondered, what is the bare minimum of watches necessary to carry the mantle of a collection? So I think we can all agree that 1 is not a collection. It's too few, and this number describes too many people who own 1 decent watch but are definitely not watch collectors in any sense of the word. 2 watches, in contrast, feels like it's the start of something. After all, you need 2 points to draw a line, but it also feels too confining, and it doesn't allow enough variety. Binary choice is better than no choice, but this seems to offer a range of styles, capability, and options that are just too constrained. But 3 watches, now that seems like a magic number. And my experience has led me to conclude that many within the watch community believe that 3 watches is the gateway to collector status. So here's where I start with my dream collection. I figure if we're going to build a 3 watch collection, why not build the most extravagant and expensive, and then the bare minimum of what I could be happy with at a lower price point. So Blancpain 50 Fathoms, I've got to have one of these. Yes, there are more expensive dive watches out there, including from Blancpain, but the basic 5010 or frankly the 5015 if it's titanium, would be exactly what I want. Now this is one of the oldest and most important dive watch families. Whether or not you believe the 1953 origin claim, the bottom line is by the mid-1950s this thing existed. It was one of the very first modern format dive watches, and recently refreshed for last year, it's now a very wearable 42mm case size, 42.3 in titanium. It is awesome. It looks good, it feels good. Same tech and spec we've had before. You've got the sapphire cambered cap on the bezel, you've got a fully loomed bezel, a brightly loomed dial, you've got caliber 13, 15, shock resistant, 6 position adjusted, anti-magnetic, and 3 barrels for a 5-day power reserve. Though this movement bowed back in 2007, to this day it feels like one of the most capable you will find in a dive watch. So blue dial for me, please, because I do think the blue just edges the black, just by a slight margin. You can see right there, that's probably the wrong watch, but a very similar dial design if you want the blue 5010. Another thing that's important to note is that we have that world-class movement that came out in 2007 and somehow still class leading. Now look at the finish. This is machine applied. Let's be honest about what we're getting here. But you can get machine applied finish from a few kilometers away at Audemars Piguet, and it looks authentically machine applied with the bite marks from the milling wheel still visible on the bevels. So when you get this from Blancpain, first of all, note the restraint and the absence of Côte de Genève. They use a sort of colomaçonnage or snailing across the bridges that looks fantastic. And the bevels, which I'm told by Blancpain are done by a high-tech process, are a mile wide, bright, and mirrored. I'm sold. By the way, if you're wondering, there's no rotor in that picture. It is an automatic watch. $18,600, but they're already selling used for thousands of dollars less. But still, perhaps for the first watch privilege, I might pay the $18,600. You're getting a hell of a timepiece if you do. Make mine on a rubber strap. De Bethune, my favorite brand if taken in aggregate. Everything this company's done since 2002. And by the way, though we own the company, keep in mind that my videos live forever, and you can find my videos back to 2016 describing De Bethune as the company that only makes Grail watches. But there is really only one that I consider my Grail watch, and that's the DBD, or the DB Digital. This came out in 2006, the digital system of displays, the most intriguing of which on this dial is the inline calendar system. Below that, we have scrolling minutes. Below that, we have instantaneous jumping hours. There is, on the reverse side, a spherical moon phase that is made up of 1/2 blued steel and 1/2 white palladium. And yes, there are displays on both sides of this watch. On a titanium-fired blue caseback, you get that distinctively polished, fired, and mirrored De Bethune titanium with their 122-year moon phase, which means it has the same adjustment interval as a perpetual calendar moon phase, but it's a sphere. If we could go back to the dial side, just a beautiful watch, white gold, 42.6 millimeters. Very, very few were made. They made 39 total, of which 9 were this combination of the anthracite dial and the white gold case. So I will never own one of these because they sell for about $140,000. And even though, again, my company does own De Bethune, there are no employee discounts right here. It's a nice size too. 42.6 is the width, but that doesn't describe how it wears. It's about 46 millimeters lug to lug, which means unlike other De Bethune watches that I love but could never marry, like the DB27 Polo or the 28 Digital, this is something I could actually wear. 4 to 5 days of power reserve, manual wind, the movement's protected by no fewer than 6 individual patents. So you are paying for quality here. And I would say this is sort of the dress watch in my dream watch collection because, well, it's not a sports watch, even though it is somewhat difficult to categorize. $140,000, but they do not come up often. This is the first I've seen in this configuration, my dream configuration, in the 10 years I've been doing this, 11 this year. Okay, now a watch that could do it all. I had my dive watch, I had my Grail watch, and now we're going to talk about the IWC Grand Complication, the 3770. I've spoken to this watch in the past, and I feel this fills out my Grail watch 3-watch collection, because think about what you get here. 42.2 millimeters in platinum. It's not small, but it's also a lot smaller than most Grand Complications, and I know for a fact I can wear it. Platinum case, black dial, it looks the business. The moon phase, aventurine glass. And because it is a traditional Grand Comp, perpetual calendar, in this case the Kurt Klaus programmed sequential kind, minute repeater, in this case the consulting work on this module was done by Renaud et Papy before they were AP RP, and then you've got a 7750, and with an automatic winding base chronograph, you've got a very versatile watch. So an awesome piece, and again, 42.2 millimeters, it weighs a ton because it's platinum, but dimensionally it fits on my wrist. About $100,000 should get this done, so it's a lot of watch for the money, and you'll be hard-pressed to find a more accessible Grand Complication. IWC only made 50 per material per year, and while the 20-year run of this model means there's a decent selection, any given year, any given metal is going to be pretty scarce. And if you just want to get one and you're not particular about the black dial, you could probably get one for about $80,000 at the bottom of the market. So a very cool option, but still, this is an apex complication. This goes in the Grail trilogy of my 3-watch collection. We've got Nudell 1306 joining in. Hello, good to see you. Tack, good to see you, my man. We've got Kevin saying 5236P IWC Ingenieur 40 titanium, VC Traditionnel 38mm platinum. That is his 3-watch ultimate collection. Kurt saying DB27 LE only 5, Matt Kraft. I want the Debatoon Stradivarius from this morning. I might have to be a 1-watch collection guy. I believe I showed the yellow dial. The Cadran Jaune this morning, that was a 10-piece limited edition with a fired golden yellow dial for the US market. So these are some fun watches, but we're going to also prove you can have a lot of fun without spending a lot of money. Sean Hansen in the box. Hello everyone, a bit late but made it. That is fine. Sean, we're happy to have you guys. We just crested 200 concurrent viewers. Let's keep getting that up. Even if you want to nod off to the fridge, put the kids in timeout, help them with their math homework, go watch another YouTuber, keep me streaming, please. While you're watching Teddy, keep me streaming on the other browser. What else is going on here? We've got Mark S. Did Tim tape over his camera on his Mac? You better believe I did. I don't trust that thing. Put it this way, my relationship with technology is best described as tense. I need it to reach you, but there's no coincidence that I broke into the YouTube space by focusing on things powered by springs and sprockets. That is really where my heart is. And I love cars that are so old that electronics means a direct current system driven by a generator, powering a light bulb, and a tube radio. What else is going on here? BNS saying, I never had the desire to own a super complicated watch. I guess that's good because I probably couldn't afford one anyway. Jeff S saying, best 3-watch collection. Moser Streamliner Rainbow Skeleton Tourbillon, Moser Alpine, and Moser Blue Enamel Streamliner Small Seconds. Edward would love you, Jeff. You're not just a one brand man. You are a one brand Moser man right there. And big pieces. What else is going on? Brad B joining in from North Carolina. Thank you for joining us in the great American mid-Atlantic. Luke is in the box from Tennessee. Okay. Tim, is Denison gonna die after this recent hype? That's the kind of thing we can never know, but ask how real is the heritage behind the brand, and that's usually a good guide to what the future holds. Carlos Santiago joining in from Ponce, Puerto Rico. Thank you so much from Puerto Rico for joining us. We have people from all over the world. Today we've got Puerto Rico, we've got America, we've got Britain, we've got continental Europe, and apparently the Middle East. So let's keep this going. Philip V, FP Journe Sonograph Sport Platinum, a Daytona 116500 LN, and a 5711 Patek Zach S Breguet Alarm GMT, Omega Generation 1 Planet Ocean, something crazy like a Patek Annual Calendar or Breguet Perpetual. THX, my 3-piece meal deal, JLC Master Ultra Thin 34 Black Dial, Pelagos 39 for his Tool Diver Chrono, and Black Bay 58 GMT for travel. Ghosted Yiddish Bambino, got IWC Grand Comp with Black Dial on a platinum bracelet, going big. That's his end game. Had a chance to buy it for $115,000 at the Miami Beach Antique Show in January after a $20,000 service. kicking myself. That bracelet's worth more than $20,000. You should be kicking yourself. That was a missed opportunity. I'm sorry, dude, but that was a big miss. Ruggiero joining in from South Africa. S&J from Slovenia. The king of pro cyclings. Slovenia is now what Spain was like 10 years ago. It is the place you go to find the world's best pro cyclists. Go Roglic, you know, at the Giro right now. Okay, jumping back to our regularly scheduled program, Wrist Shots number 2. Scott M. and his Rolex Explorer join us from England with the landmark Angel of the North in the background. Mathieu S. is at Arizona's spectacular Horseshoe Bend with his IWC Pilot's Watch Mark 20. We have Jean O of Finland captures his Hoyer Monza 2016 re-edition with his very hot hatch Ford Fiesta ST in a great color, I may add. Guillermo and his Audi showcase the latest Omega Speedmaster first Omega in space. Note the ever so subtle dark metallic blue of the dial. That's why I like the Fotina here, because the colors work. We have Dave of Toronto, or north of Toronto, as he explains. New tires, he's just put on his 4Runner. He's going off-road, and he's got the watch for it, Marathon G-SAR. My 3-watch collection, guys. Send your wrist shots to Monday Mailbag at the1916company.com to see your passion in this fashion. All right, what's going on in the box? Edward saying, if we were all honest, we would just have everything, the rudest collection. And Neil saying a $20,000 service would be a bit of a swallow. What's the largest service bill you have seen, Tim? $80,000. And we have G Mood joining in. Good to see you, my man. Jeff S. saying best 3-watch collection once again. It is all Mosers. Definitely check that out. We have Uncivil Law in the box. I wonder what he does for a living. Abdul from Germany, welcome. My 3-watch collection. So I wouldn't say the opposite of a Grail watch is an affordable watch, because some people's Grail watches are affordable. But great value is accessible in a way Grails generally aren't. So here's my favorite. Let's do a 3-watch collection starting with Tudor. Some of you have mentioned Tudor. I like the Pelagos LHD left-hand drive. Launched in 2017, this remains my favorite current Tudor watch in the post-advisor world. 42 millimeters in titanium. It's very colorful and offbeat with a little bit of a jaundiced sort of quasi-patina. I'm not sure that's how I'd describe it, although it has a little bit of a patina tinge to it. Lume is superb, and you will note that not only is the lume superb, but the lume is also quite comprehensive. It's on both the ceramic bezel insert and the dial. And the bracelet is simply loaded with features with 3 different types of extension built into the same clasp. At $5,350, it's no longer a super affordable watch. Tudor has moved upmarket a little bit, but have you seen the price of a Submariner lately? Right now, a Submariner date, just basic, black dial, black bezel, full bracelet, stainless steel, costs $10,650. The Tudor remains an excellent relative value in that regard. So, you could easily make the case, too, that if you want to compare Tudor to Rolex, the Tudor with a elaborate clasp, a 500-meter depth rating, and a helium escape valve is more of a Sea Dweller rival. Plus, when you get it on the bracelet, you also get a strap. So you're getting 2 bands, and that's a great way to add a little bit of value to the purchase. So I would say this is more like a Tudor Sea Dweller. As a result, compare it to the Sea Dweller, and the price favorability relative to its in-house competition is even better. Other specs are strong too. You get Tudor's Kinesi movement. This is a 5600 series. So hacking, quickset, 70-hour power reserve, automatic winding, silicone hairspring, a full balance bridge with a free sprung balance, chronometer certification. There is a lot to love here, and a 5-year warranty now that Tudor has stepped up to match Rolex. It is a compelling package and a great looking watch. So that's $5,350. And we've got Abdul saying in the box, I would take the 925 sterling silver Black Bay. Amit K saying $80,000 service. We need some details about this. I believe it was from a brand that is invented and made by one guy, but that's just what I've heard. Oris, this is how you do service right. Pro Pilot X Kermit. This isn't the watch that comes to mind when most people speak of a Kermit luxury watch, but we can't speak of that watch or the brand behind it, so we're talking about Oris today. It's a better buy than that one is, and I have to say it is more fun than this. I mean, let's be honest, if you're gonna have a full integrated bracelet, base metal, green dial sports watch, you may as well have the one with a cartoon image of a Muppet on it. So, think about this. Oris gives you a 10-year warranty. Oris gives you a 10-year service interval. So when the time comes for the relatively modest service expense, your kids who were born at the time you bought the watch will now be well into elementary school and almost ready for 5th grade. That's one service per decade, which I consider keeping the faith. Given what it costs to buy an Oris, they realize $1,000 every 3 years doesn't make sense, if only the rest of the industry agreed with that. I would say Oris leans into the meta-narrative of turning a Rolex nickname into an actual Muppet watch with real Kermit graphics to hammer home the point. That is the turn of the month. That's actually on the date disc. How much fun is that? And plus, I'm just going to say this. Of all the greens you can find on a watch, this one is by far my favorite. And as a kid, I loved Kermit the Frog. So, this watch is right up my alley. Specs are legit too. Think about this. Size. 39 millimeters in titanium. It's a great size. 100 meter water resistance, clasp with micro adjustment built right in. You don't expect that at this price point. The caliber is braced against 2,250 Gauss, so mil-Gauss times 2 plus a little bit more. Plus, there's twin barrels, and it's guaranteed to run from the factory no worse than -3 plus 5, which is better than chronometer. And again, guys, the price of this watch is sub $5,000. And while the titanium bracelet on a sub $5,000 watch normally will feel as cheap as 7-Eleven, which by the way has underrated pizza, I'm just gonna come out and say that. 7-Eleven is better than you think. But despite that, this Oris somehow feels twice as expensive, maybe thrice as expensive as it really is, and its bracelet at that price possibly feels better than Grand Seiko bracelets in titanium that costs multiples of this money. This is one of the few integrated bracelet sports watches. Think about this as a value proposition, but it's one of the few integrated bracelet sports watches that will accept standard aftermarket straps without some sort of weird proprietary lug system. And that adds immense value for the owner, who might be a budget-sensitive guy who's better able to buy a new strap than a new watch. This allows him to switch it up, change the look, and feel like he's getting a new watch. For $4,900, this is a great deal, a steal even. And I'm not going to name names, but why don't all luxury watches these days come with a 10-year warranty and a 10-year service interval? What technology does Oris have that, say, all of the rest don't have? Ball's in your court, watch industry, and Oris right now is up on match point. Let's take a look at the box, see what you guys have to say. So we're up to 300 viewers concurrently already. Oh my gosh, this curve looks like a hockey stick. Guys, keep me streaming. Watch whatever else you're gonna binge watch on television, Netflix, go scream at the neighbors, put the kids to bed, feed the dog, but keep me streaming. All those things, but keep me streaming. I promise it'll be worth your while. We have Chavdar K saying G-Shock Square, Rolex Sprite, and 6196p game over. And I actually like that quite a bit. Jim, you're helping me achieve that 320 live viewers. Brian D, Bull of a Trinity, White Blue Dial, Lunar Pilot, Green Dial, GMT, Devil Diver, and finally the A15 for a combination field and pilot's watch. BNS saying 7-Eleven Japan. It's true. Owned out of Japan, 7-Eleven is the world's most populous fast food chain with 80,000 locations across the globe. It is the most numerous fast food chain on earth. But here in the United States, what Costco doesn't want you to know is that the same vendor that makes the Costco pizza makes the 7-Eleven pizza too. So if you don't have a Costco membership, that's the life hack right there. Okay, Slow Boy Fuel Pump. Tim, don't insult yourself. You have my undivided attention. I appreciate that. I'm glad I have someone's. Philip S., first time live, love it. Thank you for joining in. Eric R., Zeitwerk, Languntina Albert, Moser Streamliner. That's a hell of a trio. That's a really good trio. I can't think of a much better one. Maybe co-equal, but not better. Mark S. saying, it's not an integrated bracelet if it does not have proprietary lugs, Tim. We have been over this, please. Well, I can believe whatever I like. I'm Tim Mosso, and I make it up as I go along. I consider that an integrated bracelet sports watch. I would not call it a proprietary bracelet sports watch. I think we can all agree that given the shape of the case, the end link in the bracelet, there is a qualitative difference between, say, a Seamaster and that Oris. All right, what else is going on? Let's take a look. Our regularly scheduled program and the most unexpected watch in this trio, Ball. Now, I'm not going to talk about the discontinued Engineer 2 Magneto S for the 1000th time. You can see my old reviews on the other channel and everything I've said about this watch on previous episodes of Watches Tonight. The search function is there. Ball has other fantastic values in its current catalog. The Engineer M Amazing Grace is a 40mm steel Milgauss rival for only $2,699 at its current discounted price on Ball's website. So $2,700 gets you all of this. Think about it. You get a malachite stone dial. You get tritium lume in a rainbow spectrum of colors. You get the Engineer M, it lives up to its name. All of these features can be yours. Shock protected to 5000 G with the Ball amortizer system. 904L stainless steel construction, because it's true, anyone can use it if they choose to. It's not a proprietary alloy, and Ball uses 904L in several watches. 100-meter water resistance, an exclusive 80-hour automatic movement that is Ball unique. COSC Swiss chronometer certification, a 1,000-piece limited edition, and it comes with free caseback custom engraving if you order it before June 11th. All that, it's only 46.6 millimeters lug to lug, so it's a nice size, it fits well, and it's equally appealing to both men and women on a budget. Okay, jumping into the box right now, Time Hill, Junior Johnson, Moto Gunner from Athens, Georgia, joining in Icy Mike, saying Costco is coasting on ETA-based pizza. That's right, that pizza, it's an Bausch. Many different retailers use it. What else is going on in the box? Brian D, keeping it to 3. Glasuta Original CQ Green Tudor Chrono S&G. Fears Redcliffe Onyx dial for his dress watch. Darren Brown, 5711 Royal Oak President. 5711 Royal Oak Rolex President Day Date in platinum with meteorite dial. Very cool. Mason 1 joining in, along with Mike B. No kidding on the pizza. That's a great tip, as there's one down the street. I'm going to try that soon. Highly recommended. Time to get it is in the morning. That's the thing. Costco has a lot of turnover of its pizza. With 7-Eleven, it's like one pizza all day. So if you're going to do it early. All right, back to the box. We talked about like $1 a slice pizza and a $140,000 watch in the same episode. Yeah, Hodinkey doesn't give you this. Life hacks involving 7-Eleven. Viewer wrist shots number 3. Eric O joins us from Napa, California with his Rolex Datejust for a Mother's Day celebration. Looking good. Dewey W enjoys one of the best diving chronographs out there with his Blancpain 50 Fathoms bathyscaphe chronograph, which includes a flyback. Chester N gives us our first Omega in space sighting with Wally from the Kennedy Space Center, Medef, and he's got Hanafubiki, the cherry blossom blizzard from Japan with his Grand Seiko SBJ 413. I know exactly what you mean, because we've got the cherry blossoms here in Philadelphia, and when they start shedding their petals, it really is like a blizzard of snow. You can pick them up by the fistful and throw them, and I definitely did. Raymond K has watches and wheels going with his IWC Pilot's Watch Lake Tahoe and Range Rover. Guys, send your wrist shots to Monday Mailbag at the1916company.com, or if you prefer vintage, at thewatchbox.com. The redirect will work. My 3-watch collection. Zenith only. I know this is a very Tim Mosso category, since Zenith probably isn't a collection theme for too many other enthusiasts, especially those looking to hold the line at just 3 pieces. Still, this is my web show, so here goes. A watch very few people have seen in person, the El Primero Retropont. Now this is fascinating because it was only made for a brief window after 2009, and it proves that great things were happening at the tail end of the Terry Nataf era. Launched in 2009 into the teeth of the financial crisis, this is a premium split-seconds chronograph that also heralded Zenith's return to classically beautiful design in the immediate aftermath of the Terry Nataf experiment. Along with watches like the new vintage 1969, this suggests that all of that stuff that helped to define the Jean-Frédéric Dufour era was largely ready to go by the time Nataf left, given product development cycles. So maybe Nataf deserves a little bit of credit for the stuff that was absolutely right about the Dufour era. Heretical, maybe, but also logical. So this watch has a lot to offer. You get a steel case. It is big in 44 millimeters, but you're getting a lot in that 44. A split-seconds chronograph, a chronometer certification, El Primero automatic base, historically significant, still one of the best chronographs going, a Grande Date, and 100-meter water resistance. It's also loomed, this is a watch that does it all. There was even an obscure blackened DLC version with a carbon pattern dial. You don't see that one too often. Really, you don't see either. But if you see this one's really scarce. Figure $8,000 to $9,000 to buy either one of these watches today pre-owned, and it's a lot of watch for the money. Okay. The Rainbow Elite Diver, and by that I mean it is an elite caliber. It is the non-chronograph. A lot of folks don't know this watch exists, and it's not well advertised. Even in period literature from Zenith, it was not commonly communicated that there was both a Mango El Primero chronograph and a Mango dialed Elite, which was their 1994 movement, the first new Zenith movement of the 90s, and their first movement ever designed on a computer. It was a contemporary to high-end automatics like the Rolex 3100 series or the JLC 889. And this Zenith caliber 670 right here with the dive style case, the 39mm size, the factory bracelet, it was part of the Rainbow series. So if you're familiar with the yacht on the case back of the chronographs, it's also right here. People think the Rainbows were called the Rainbows because there's a flyback chronograph with a rainbow colored dial and bezel. Not true. They were called Rainbows because the standard version of the watch had a picture of the J-class racing sailboat Rainbow on the back. And so this is part of the Rainbow series despite not being a chronograph. Figure $4,000 to $5,000 if one surface is perfect and with its full boxed set and on the bracelet. This is an incredible watch to own, and I believe that if you are a true Zenith fan, you've got to appreciate the huge range of heritage beyond the El Primero. There were chronographs before the El Primero in the Zenith catalog, and there have been movements in the Zenith catalog past and present that were not chronographs, and this is an important part of that heritage. Made in the late 90s, only a few hundred of these were built. Zenith, Chronomaster, XXT Quantième Perpetuel. This is my Grail Zenith. Okay, longtime viewers will recall that this monster and its colossal impact on my path as a watch enthusiast helped to bring me into the watch industry. 45 millimeters, outlandish, bombastic, yes. But when I saw this just before I joined the Navy, I thought, wow, what a watch. And what would a person have to do to deserve a watch like that? Let's be honest, in a lifetime as enthusiasts, very few watches capture the imagination that profoundly, and this one did for me. As my horizons expanded, I realized there was a hierarchy even amid this embarrassment of riches. There were other Chronomasters, and over the years, I've come to believe that this is the ultimate version of them. So, black dial, white gold case. 45 millimeters, yes, but big is the style, and this one has grandeur. COSC certified, it's a chronometer. Perpetual calendar and a moon phase and an El Primero chronograph, you have my attention here. Yes, it's huge, but there's something intrinsic about the grandeur and majesty of this watch that makes any other size or scale seem beneath it. Zenith caliber 4003 combined an El Primero 4000Z movement with a perpetual calendar module co-developed with Abel in the late 1990s. Fun fact. Watches like this and my formative experience with them are the main reason I have more warmth and nostalgia in my heart for the Nataf era of Zenith than almost anyone else in the Zenith enthusiast community. What would it cost me? Who knows? They rarely surface, but I'm guessing under 30, but more than 20. Finally, let's take a look at what a balanced 3-watch collection would look like. So first, Omega Seamaster Diver 300 meter, the only Omega whose reference is widely known, the 253180, and you better believe that's how I would want mine with the tritium dial. I do own this watch, but post-tritium. It was my graduation watch, and it's a watch I will never sell. So this is a watch I actually own and bought with my own money. It's the James Bond Omega. It's a versatile diver. It's got a full bracelet, a clasp with an extension, and now impossibly, it is also a vintage watch in this hypothetical 3-watch collection, because the oldest ones from '93 with tritium dials are definitely neo-vintage. And that's right, it's both young enough to still use as a dive watch and old enough to be vintage. The early ones from '93 to '96 with the tritium patina, those are to die for. And here's the thing, like the Rolex Submariner, well, initially, I have to say back in the 90s, these were priced more reasonably than a Submariner, and prices didn't move that much. So you can still buy a good one today for inflation-adjusted dollars equivalent to less than what it cost in the late 90s and early 2000s. That's a great deal. Like the Rolex Submariner is worn by 007, the Diver 300 meter is an enduring classic with a great backstory and decades of heritage that no recently launched design can claim. There is something about a pedigree and heritage that only time can establish. And it used to be that the Seamaster would be blown up and redesigned every 5 to 10 years. Through the decades, the Seamaster was never one look that endured through ages and generations, until this one hit the catalog, and it's still with us today in the latest iteration, which debuted in 2018 as is still in rude health, basically to this day, on Omega's website right now. And this was the beginning of the breed. I would also say this, unlike the Sub, the Omega remains more of a tool than a trophy. You can wear it with some abandon, and the ability to actually get rough is supported by robust construction, reasonable used prices, and plentiful access to parts and service for the simple ETA-based movement. Okay, back to Zenith. The Captain Winsor Annual Calendar Boutique Edition. I believe this has a place in your watch box even if you're not a Zenith mono brand collector. This is the perfect watch, 42 millimeters, stainless steel, smoked palladium precious metal dial, Ludwig Oxlin designed annual calendar, horological royalty right here, El Primero chronograph, and a 100-meter water resistance. There's everything here. It has a perfect fit on most wrists. Here's mine, no problem. And the dial is easily the best one across the different variants of this model. Also, this smoked dial is like few others in that the gradient, if you take a closer look at this, the gradient is north-south, rather than the normal fade from the center. It's an unusual sort of smoked dial and very original. There's even a little bit of a diagonal cant to it. A very cool version of a gradient dial from Zenith. They're always ahead of the curve, and they do things their own way. Look at that dial too, beautiful. A fantastic argument for a dial that has no lume and looks better for it. And there may be, I would say, 6,500 to 7,500 when they surface used. If you see one, don't miss it. Finally, I feel like there's space for a dress watch of some kind in this collection. We also need a travel watch of some description, and I feel like we need some detox from the Swiss Kool-Aid because, man, we have been pumping that stuff all night. We've saved some money with the Zenith and the Omega, potentially scoring both for 10 grand combined, so there's something left in the tank for a big splash. Moritz Grossmann has it with the Glashütte firm's GMT. This is a dual time watch. So the 41mm white gold or rose gold dual time expresses its second time zone as an orbital index that could easily be mistaken for a date if you don't look carefully. And it traces a 24-hour arc around the periphery of the dial. Along with Roger W. Smith, Moritz Grossmann is one of 2 brands that I'm aware of using this kind of a system. It keeps the dial clear, balanced, and uncluttered in both cases. And the center dial is super clean, and it's easy to overlook the second time zone when you're not searching for it. So it is a masterclass of industrial design. The movement is exactly what you would expect of premier German watchmaking in the modern era. But Moritz Grossmann, can we go full screen on that? Moritz Grossmann makes less than 1/10 as many watches each year compared to A. Lange & Söhne. So the time spent on decoration can be commensurately greater, and it shows. In person, these are among the top 5, maybe top 6 best finished movements in the world. All those characters on the bridges, freehand engraved. Finally, as depicted here, the watch is around $50,000 US, which is good value, honest, and remarkably competitive. If you check the price of something like a precious metal travel time watch from Patek Philippe, the fact that this comes from an independent making less than 500 watches a year, 2 thumbs up. Viewer wrist shots number 4. Greg from San Francisco shares his Omega Seamaster Aquaterra with his buddy CJ. Jim R. features one of tonight's hero watches alongside his Ducati Multistrada 1260 Pikes Peak. I love the look of the bracelet on that, by the way. Kudzuman and his Mont Blanc Nicholas Riasek appreciate a 1932 Ford Model 18 hot rod. I love the Nicolas Riasek. This one is one of the limited series. You can see a little bit of the dial graphics too. Mark A. and his Rolex Submariner visited the Grand Master's Palace in Valletta, Malta. Very cool. Jim M. presents a rare sight with his spectacular Breguet 5287 chronograph. The 2025 Breguet brand comeback is on, and it starts right here. He also takes us home. Send your wrist shots to Monday Mailbag at the1916company.com to see your analog on my digital. Thanks to Ethan, who's learning the switcher tonight, and Nick, who has been offering the tutorial and riding shotgun. And thanks to all of you who make the best job in watches possible. Until next time, time out.